Probably shouldn't be doing this show, but
Rise and shine, sleepyhead. It's a brand new day. Now prepare to experience the most outrageous man on radio.
This is insane.
Quality, quantity, and variety.
ROCKFLUX.
Let's get this show on the road.
This is a nightmare. It must be a nightmare.
thanks, folks. I'll tell you, we missed out on a couple of things there just because I'm half.
It's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
And we forgot that. You know, I was off cue. Kind of only smells like a little bit like a cat. Cat did something. Missed the litter box yesterday. Got taken to the vet. But here's a picture from this morning. Well, that's what was wrong with them. That's the hypocrisy of the world. There's a picture of me with the cat this morning. No glasses, obviously. And you could see a bit of the shirt that I'm wearing. Everything you know is wrong. Last day for free shipping. I don't know. The cat's... Here's what they did. They V-check feline, whatever. And then some kind of snap test. They gave him electrolytes, fluids, Depot Medro injection, whatever that is, Serena injection, vitamin B12. That kind of snapped him to where he was less lethargic. Some whatever liquid, and then they sent him back with some food. And it was chicken flavored food. I gave him some of it fresh this morning. I have to give him this like mouth injection thing. He apparently has like some kind of, it wasn't a stroke. It was something with his pancreas or something. Cat pancreas, pancreatitis or something. The vet seemed to be thinking that a week or two of this stuff I've got to put in the mouth. You know, cats hate that stuff when you inject that. But they gave these cans. I don't know why it says ID feline 24 times 5.5 cans. Because I only got 3 cans. So I've got to confirm that with the person that took him there. You know? In fact, that's something I'm going to have to deal with. Anyway, the title of this show is Life Continues to Be a Cruel Joke with a Lot of Bad Actors. And I don't mean actors as in those people behind. Well, I mean, some of them happen to be people behind the proscenium arch. But I'm just talking about people all over. So many things to do at once just to maintain. And it's not to maintain sanity, but just to maintain life, it seems. This gives you an idea of like what it looks like, my get-up from the back. You can see I have an extra fan, you know, towards the right-hand side, that circular thing on that one computer, because, you know, computers, they never have enough fans because they don't have the room for them, and they try to make them, you know, design them in such a way that they take up less space or they have a certain structure. But if you can get yourself one of those USB plug-in fans like that, it just plugs into a USB port and it blows air, on into the back of the computer, like where there's some holes. It keeps it cooled down. It used to heat up, and I used to have all kinds of like CPU problems. That thing works. You could see a little bit of a mixer there. Down on the floor by the morning show, you can see a G5 on the floor. There's a garbage truck out there. And then if you look at the top, if you're very observant, you can see that there's two monitors. There's this black monitor on the left, and then there's a silver monitor, and that's the main monitor, the one I'm like mostly looking at right now. The one I use. I'm talking out there. Hopefully nothing was eating my garbage. Just take the garbage cans, all right, or garbage bags. And that's like a 27 or 30. I mean, it's a pretty big monitor. It's the Thunderbolt discontinued model. And then I had to add my own CD. That's that thing underneath it, because, they don't put CDs in computers anymore. I've got a power conditioner underneath this whole thing because I was getting a buzz before. That's underneath the mixer. And then various wires, just the type of thing that, anyone who's lived with a woman before, I don't know, but most of the women I lived with just couldn't stand wires. Like they would freak out if they saw that in their front room. What are all those wires? It's amazing I could laugh. I had to stand next to the cat. He went in the litter box. Yesterday he did not go in the litter box. I had to throw a rug out. I also spent a couple hours in the backyard with a weed whacker. I had to rehook up my hose, even though we're still going to get weather below zero. In fact, this Saturday, it's going to go down to 27. But I hooked up the water in the yard. Now, I put the hose back in the garage, which it never gets below freezing in the garage. I mean, unless it would be 0 degree Fahrenheit out there. But I don't believe 27 degrees, but maybe I'll put a foam cover over the, the outside nozzle type of thing, just in case. The pipes leading to it all have that, that black insulation you put over a pipe. It's like got a slit in it. You could place it over the pipes, and that seemed to have helped got it through the winter. I mean, we're in the spring officially. It is spring as of Sunday. A lot of rain ahead, so a lot to do. Today's supposed to be a half decent day temperature-wise, not necessarily the sun. I didn't get my EBT money, and then it's going to start getting, there's going to be a couple of half-decent days. Tomorrow's going to rain all day. That should be challenging for me. And then the weekend's going to is full of rain here in the mid-Atlantic states. But this pretty much holds true for the Ohio Valley, mid-Atlantic, East, Alleghenies, Northern Appalachians, but not the Northeast, just the what they call the Northern Appalachian, working your way eastward. The further east you go, because you've got water temps, it tends to be a little bit warmer than here. Like I say, where I live is hard to describe because it's like, not far from here is an entrance to the Appalachian Trail. So the Appalachians go through here, but I'm east of the Ohio Valley, but it's the mid-Atlantic states, and I'm like, I'm north of West Virginia, Kentucky, that north of that area. But when I give you the temperatures, they're pretty much in this general vicinity. Right now it's 39 degrees outside, which it wasn't supposed to break into the 30s. So, just to go to show that any weather forecast I give is, you could take it with a grain of salt, It's ridiculous.
The Weather Watch forecast.
So much for that. Other than that, I'm alive. All that work I did yesterday out back, I won't know if any of it paid off. I had there was a big hole where I thought that by blocking the fence where the rats were coming from, the neighbor, who I've shown you before, who's a bona fide genuine witch. I mean, this is an actual picture I took out my bedroom window. That's why it's a little grainy. Of this woman in her yard. She had been burning. I was too late to catch the plastic, the trash bag, the black plastic trash bag. She actually had placed a black plastic trash bag in this thing, and which actually was an architectural feature I had created for her. And she added a level of cinder blocks on top of it. But if you look at the bottom, you could see how it's smooth. It was a very unique piece. It would fit in any multi-million-dollar home in any part of the country, the way I designed it. I designed this neat, as an outdoor, because they're very popular. People sit outside and have like a little fire in the evening. Some people toast some marshmallows. Some people just sit around it with benches. But she had added these ugly cinder blocks and I coated it, with mortar, and it was just, it was an architectural. Like I said, it was really neat. I took a picture of it. I have it somewhere, but like I said, I've got, one of the problems with 21st century life and cell phones and smartphones, and I mean, we all have 20,000 photos or more. And they keep offering you could get more space in the cloud if you spend an extra such and such. It's like, what are you going to do with these photos? They tried dating them, categorizing them, calling them events. But the thing is, it's like 20,000 photos how many photos? In other words, it's information overload. And we don't have the time, and it's very and there's a complexity involved in deleting and organizing these things. Because of the cloud and the nature of the computers and the multiplicity of everything, when you delete a photo from one place, it's like still somewhere else. Have you noticed that? It doesn't really, truly, get rid of it. And then this whole idea of the, information gathering so that, which isn't as nefarious as people make it out to be, because primarily the idea is this whole idea of information gathering is to create demographic profiles so they could better sell to us, and in their minds, better provide us with the products that we need and want in a timely manner. But if my Echo Dot, one more time ask me if it's time to reorder raw unfiltered honey or xylitol toothpaste, which both I've ordered within the past 30 days, and there is no way in hell I would go after. I ordered the xylitol toothpaste, came in 2 tubes, in the box. I mean, I won't be needing that. I'm still like barely through the first tube. Yeah, just another crack at AI, but an example of what their rationale and what they believe, how they're serving us. And of course, the government just wants a copy of everything, but just in case, right? And so everything's eternal as long as the power stays up and as long as the battery backups or whatever in their salt mines, where their NSA has these is storing all this data. And of course, the backups at the AWS, which are basically Amazon Web Services that the CIA uses. But yeah, anyway, this is a bona fide witch, lives next door to me. A photo I took, grainy because it was taken from a second floor window. I couldn't believe she was burning a bag, black, hefty, type of trash bag. And inside, you can't, but the reason, you look at the flames, how they're jumping up, and you don't see lumber in there. Because also inside the bag were like those styrofoam containers, she must have bought something pre-made from the store. So we're talking about real pollution here, right? I had to run. I told the story before, but it's worth telling. I was sitting in my yard originally, all right, laying in the sun, soaking up some vitamin D, and I smelled like tires burning. And I'm like, oh man, I can't breathe this stuff in, I'm like, so I run it because I also had my bathroom and my bedroom window, which is a rear bedroom, open, and the kitchen window, which faces the rear. So I forget about enjoying the sun, grab all my stuff real quick. It's like running from the beach when it starts to rain, right? Grab all your stuff, haphazardly, whatever, hurriedly. Make a dash towards my back door, close my kitchen window because I don't want that smell getting in there. Run up the stairs to the second floor bathroom, close the bathroom window, go to my bedroom window, close my bedroom window, and this is the sight I saw. And I have an iPod up there. It's an old iPod, iPad, I should say. And doesn't have the greatest camera to begin with because it's just older. I just use it, for. I'm able to run one of my security camera software programs on it, so I could check cameras upstairs. So if I go up early and I'm waiting for a package or something, I could see if there's somebody at the front door or something like that. Or see what's going on around. And I snapped this picture. But by the time I grabbed it and started it up, because it was off, I don't leave it in and on because I don't use it. I only use it when I need it. The bag had, melted, and the styrofoam had, basically it caught fire. And look at that. But I caught her as, in pure. She's a witch. Look at her. She's really a witch, a mean and evil person. I think she's the problem I think she's caused all the problems. I think she tries to poison me. I think she sprays. She has all those horrible sprays that are carcinogenic. I've seen around by the fence like this white, I don't know what it is, film over top of the grass. Like I think she's trying to kill I have these Rose of Sharons against the fence because I want a green yard and I want privacy and I want that fresh air. And, the more greenery you have, more bushes and trees and things growing. And I think she tried to spray like under the fence or over the fence. I actually caught her and another person that they came into my backyard and had pulled some things up because they were like so-called like about to grow over her fence. And then I had to put in an additional security alarm and motion detector lights on the path that gets to my backyard. I mean, this woman's not only crazy, but I mean, she's a bona fide frickin' witch, man. That has nothing to do with anything. So anyway, we're hoping that this stuff that they gave the cat, I had actually basically thought the cat was dead yesterday. I was really a mess. I was up at midnight, and today I didn't get out of bed till 3:30. I probably could have stayed in bed, probably should be up in bed with the cat, but it was down sniffing around where it had gone to the bathroom outside of the litter box, which I had to get rid of a rug. One rug, but I have another one I still have to yank out. But it finally went in there, and now it's upstairs. And the darn canned food which I'm going to have to send this email off to a friend of mine who was generous enough to take him to the vet. Man, I was a basket case yesterday. Let's see. I had to trim my cat's nail. And kept putting him in the litter box until he used it. Anyway, so I'm looking at an email right now, so if that's confusing to you, I'm sorry. So, I just want to take it. That's what I'm saying. So much stuff, so much to do, to maintain. And I want to tell you about this because people are interested. This is like...
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
The only people who actually watch this show are basically people who are interested in, my life more or less. I guess. I mean, I've tried everything from being... someone to provide information, right? I did the topical thing. I did, social criticism, media criticism, dabbled in, some political rants in the past. A lot of, tried to be, sensible and, and all that stuff. But, it just doesn't work. I mean, so I basically have just turned this into a show that I do that's about, it's almost like my online diary, I guess. I watch these shows back. I'm done doing that thing. I'm sorry for if I seemed, a little bit, distracted. I was doing something else at that time.
Okay.
No, she's okay with it. So the tech behind the scenes, it's kind of interesting, isn't it? I just snapped that picture this morning. Yeah, didn't waste a lot of time. Just took the camera right up to it and snapped it. The fan almost looks like it's spinning. It almost looks like it's actually video. But yeah, that's what it looks like behind where I am right now. I mean, not behind, in front, I guess you would say. Yeah, you could see it takes a lot to organize this, and I've streamlined this down because, like I said, at times I was having some buzzing problems. And various things, and I tried to hook up some extra things to get some reverb or echo and different stuff. And so, yeah, this is the streamlined look, and you can't even see the floor because the wires get more intense down there, and you can't see high enough, in order to get this in the frame. You really can't see how big that silver monitor is. This monitor that Apple has literally discontinued. So, so there's a picture of me and my cat, and you could see that, my head on the shirt there that I'm wearing, and he's just kind of looking up at me. So he's doing a lot better. We'll just have to see what happens and hope for the best, you know. Like I say, this is basically, as I say, Greek to me. That's that. So the real thing I wanted to focus on today, we've got 0 concurrent viewers, 0 chat rate, 0 views. Average view duration, though, is 25 minutes, so you figure that one out. Life continues to be a cruel joke with a lot of bad actors. And I'm assuming my garbage cans or my garbage bags were in decent shape when they picked them up, and they didn't. It was very windy last night. And you can see my Codex book and everything else. The set's still the same. And by the way, you know, doing that work in the yard, which I'm going to just describe briefly some of the stuff I did. I didn't take any pictures. Maybe I'll take some pictures today because it's supposed to be like in the 50s. And so I'll go out there and I planted some lettuce. You can plant lettuce right now. Now I have a little square, maybe 2 foot by 2 foot, I think it is. I think they're just 2 by 6s. The ground seems to have, they've either sunk or the ground seems to have come up. A 2 by 6 kind of square raised bed, and I put lettuce in there. And over top of it, last year it broke. I used to have like a 2 by 2 storm window, but it shattered. The wind blew it over while I was in the middle of doing something. I couldn't believe it. It was a mess. But I have another one that's a little oversized, and I have that over top of it to protect it from frost. Though lettuce can handle the cold weather, it just like does nothing in the ground. The seeds just won't germinate right away. They'll wait till it gets a little bit warmer. But they could deal with cold ground. I have kale outside, and I have some radishes as well. Now, the bed where I had the radishes, which I can actually show you, those who are interested, everyone needs to really, if you see the black pole, all right, the first, on the left-hand side, the raised bed on the left-hand side, I saw one of the rats from the next door neighbor going to the side of that. And indeed on the side of it, I had found that there was a big hole. And I had tall grass around what a homemade pond I made there. It's just like, you know, it's about a couple feet, 2 feet wide by about 4 feet tall, long. And I have one of those solar, fountains in it. So as long as the water level's high enough and the sun's out, it shoots up a fountain. It's kind of nice, and it's it gives a nice sound if you're sitting in a chair in the back on a sunny summer day, and the birds like it, and it aerates the water in the pond, which keeps it fresh, right? I also have an aerator in there, which I had to fix yesterday because when I was weed whacking. Anyway, it was nice. I had tall grass growing all around the pond, which gave it this almost real nature, out in nature look, like as if it was a real pond, natural pond, instead of something I created. But there was this big hole where either the rats had come over because I had blocked the fence leading from the witch's house with concrete the other day, and they had found another way in, and I think they were trying to either build. So I had taken some of this, what they call Myers soap, which is something that people use. It's like people use it to wash. People who are really green and they have, are living off grid. So it's like for gray water. And so that Meyer soap is safe enough that people reuse that gray water and have that go into their like fruit trees and stuff like that. So it's safe. So this hole was underneath that, raised bed that I just showed you. And I don't have any big root plants in there anyway. Most of them are surface plants, like I said, like radishes and stuff anyway. But just in case, so I put some Meyer soap and I hooked up the hose, as I said, and I just filled the this hole with soapy water and just kept putting the hose in there, figuring, that's going to drive that thing out of there. And if I would have seen it, I would have taken the hose and just like kept hosing it. I'm being humane. I don't want, I don't want to kill these animals and stuff. I don't want them in my yard, but I just want to deter them. And I think the idea of soaping up their, nest, and then I covered the hole, nothing came out. And they usually have like 4 or 5 escape hatches. That's the nature of the rat if you study these things. So it might have just been a play. It probably wasn't in there at the time. And there's 2 I had seen come over from the other side. So this might have been a work in progress or something. I don't know. But it was a big hole. So anyway, I did that. I gave it a good hefty, soapy. I wasted. In fact, I wasted a lot of that soap. That stuff's not cheap. And filled it put a lot of water in there. And then I poured in. I found I still had some mortar, which I was saving for this process I described once before. If you take mortar, with a concrete adhesive, and you mix it to the consistency of paint and get like a real beat up paintbrush, big fat paintbrush, and you paint it over your concrete, it will make your concrete look new. But it'll only last about a year because you're just putting a thin coat of mortar, but with this concrete adhesive, it literally makes this. I put it on my stairs because they get cracked because of the trucks and stuff. Sometimes I'll have to put some cement or some actual concrete bonding agents like in the cracks. But I do that once a year to keep my steps looking decent. And I had just enough mortar that I could have done it this year, saved in my garage. And I'm on a 0 budget. I'm broke. I don't have any. I have no. Like today's the last day of, I think I have some lettuce left. I mean, I'm running low on it. I'm just about out of everything, man. These are hard times. But I decided I would put that in there with some rocks. And I was another spot I found dug out on her fence. It's like I'm playing whack-a-mole, but it's whack-a-rat. And then so I filled that with concrete. And to those 2 spots, and then where the cat had urinated on a rug inside my place, I grabbed that rug, and down further by my compost pile at the end of the yard, I noticed something had dug through under the fence, because back there I just have a metal fence, the old-fashioned metal, those metal, fences that anything could crawl through. And I put that thing, because it had a cat scent on it, down, and I also put maybe some concrete, but a bunch of rocks and different things to block that hole. And I'm hoping maybe the scent of the cat, because that's what animals do. They mark their territory, right? And other animals can smell the scents of predators. Man, it's an education process. Like I say, I'm doing so many things. So then I moved the hose away and got the weed whacker out, but I had to cover my pond with like cardboard boxes, flattened out cardboard boxes, because I knew the weed whacking, because this grass was like 2 feet tall all around it. And I weed whacked that, and behind it right to the other fence facing the doctor's office. And I'll show a picture of this tomorrow. I'll make a note of it, you know, right now. Got to take notes. When you're doing 12 different things at once, you know, photo of pond, grass down. I'll make sure I do that when I go out there. Oh, man. Hold on a second. And I've got to babysit a cat. Like I say, who knows? Maybe I shouldn't even be doing this show. But, I spent some time. I showed you that picture. Not that one. Where is it? I spent time with him this morning. I'm holding him there. He's purring. He's hanging out with me. I stood with him to make sure he went in the litter box, and he did go in the litter box. So, and then I'll go up and he'll sit on my lap while I watch this back. This is entertainment, and this is me dealing with my mind, right? Trying to keep my sanity. So, as you can see, I put, the thing back up there, just a small version of, you've got to get mad, It's like TV and the TV on the wall. Trying to adjust this rather gaudy screen. But, the more you fill it up, I mean, what the heck, everything is wrong. I'm not worried so much about symmetry. It's early in the morning. I'm working at it. I think she can be shrunk a tad just so that doesn't press there, and or she can be brought down more but moved over to the left. I like a little bit of the overlap here. Not too much though. Just adds to the effect. I'm a graphic designer, it's like it was one of the things I've made a living on, in my travels. It was always something, like they say you should always have, don't, people should always have a trade. Because the idea is that, when you're younger, not so much when you're older. When you're older, it doesn't really matter, I just wanted to highlight. I don't know if this light will. Maybe it does highlight it a little. The old morning show mug. That was the one we started this whole thing off with, if you recall. Now I use this one. Both are still for sale. They're not expensive. And if you go to rockflux.com, there's a link to them, to the store. You got to hunt around. There's all kinds of things with all these sayings like everything you know is wrong and game over. You don't know what you don't know. ROCKFLUX logo, mugs, everything, travel mugs, things for you. I've got them all, and it's free shipping. So how much, and these, how much do you think they could charge you for a mug? I mean, it's our stickers. You get a ROCKFLUX sticker. Pass the word, spread the word, So it's like, I'm trying to keep this guy as big as possible. I don't care so much about that fake YouTube thing in the background. That's fake, by the way. I just made that. It says, for presented to Tony Caravan Live for receiving more than 3 views, which is about what we get, right? Oh, no. Yeah, I know. We're extremely unpopular. And nobody buys any of our stuff, even when we have free shipping. I had 20% off before the holidays, and followed by free shipping and stuff, and nobody bought a single thing. And, you know, the funny thing about it is, and it's not funny, ha ha, but is that these things, the everything you know shirt and, you know, and you don't know what you don't know, you know, and even then what, you know, they really can be a way of changing people, you know, waking people up to reality. Because what you're doing is you're challenging this zombie world, right? Where people are just watching TV, watching the internet, watching all these vloggers, watching Rumble, watching locals, watching, you know, YouTube, watching Twitter, watching Facebook, right? Involve memes and all that stuff. I don't care what it is. And it's the same. It's people just criticizing other people, but they're not giving you any information that they themselves have firsthand knowledge of or have experience in. And what I've always tried to do on this show is talk about the fact that, and I guess there's people out there that are just skeptics. You know, it's like, look, I lived and worked in Capitol Hill, and actually, and I lived and worked. I worked for Roy Cohn in his the end of his career, so that took me into places, you know, that, you know, most people would never go. And when I went to Washington D.C., I had got my first job to go there. I had to get a security clearance for the job I got, which I still, you know, haven't talked about, but I've alluded to. If you saw the things I saw with these eyes almost 40 years ago, 35, 40 years ago. And when I say everything you know is wrong and you don't know what you don't know, I am telling you, the world is not the way you think it is. It's not. And, you know, even these guys like, you know, these Bongino guys, I don't know if he was some former special forces guy, or a lot of these guys who served in the military and they think they know stuff, or they might have got a glimpse of something one time when they're out there. It's like, no, I saw the real thing. I know what's going on. I've been involved. I was on the internet 35 years ago. You're going, what? Yeah, 1985. Right? I was on the internet in 1985. And I basically had emails going, you know, over the Pacific, you know, to Australia and places like that. I mean, you don't understand. You have no idea what I've seen with these eyes, what I've heard with these ears, okay? Where I've been. All right? You know, so yeah, I lived and worked in Capitol Hill. I lived and worked in New York City 2 different occasions. I lived and worked in LA like 3 times. You know, I lived and worked in Philadelphia, Center City, Philadelphia. You know, I've worked for universities. You know, when I was in college, I said I was the student government president. I was popular, you know. You know, I mean, I've been all over. I lived on the Gulf Coast of Florida for a year or so. You'll say, how could you have done all this stuff? Because I basically was a project guy. I was a radio station general manager in my former hometown. I was a creative director of an advertising agency in another town. I had my own agency, and then I had numerous magazines, because throughout my life, like I said, I've always fell back on my graphic design, and I worked for several newspapers, and I've published, I mean, if various magazines, but if you took all the issues together, thousands of issues of magazines that, in some cases, towards the end, when they were my magazines, I actually did them myself, created them graphically, wrote, designed, with an assistant, a very able assistant who finally who has a master's in marketing, finally got her master's in marketing, and is working for a national company, doing well. So I mean, and so this is no bull. I'm not like these people who are just like pundits and who pull up a screen capture, of some tweet or of some newspaper article or a video clip from cable or network news thing, and then sit there like a couple of people like criticizing it and talking about it, right? Or some ex-general paper pusher, Pentagon type of guy who doesn't have any idea what the DIA is up to. He doesn't know what kind of tech DARPA's into. Okay? Do you know how many generals there are? There's a lot of generals, and a lot of them are just bureaucrats. We used to call pencil pushers. They don't know what's going on. Unless you're actively involved in like CENTCOM or you're in some key area involved in like in the theater of where an active war is, or some sort of activities going on. There's things going on like right now. And like I say, I never give away any, I respect the security, okay? Everything I'm saying is nothing I'm saying is classified, right? Though I'll tell you, when I was dealing with, exposed to classified information, it was so long ago, that any NDA has long since expired, and the technology is pretty much, has been declassified. I'm clipping my nails right now because, my life is so busy, I don't even have time to do that, So anyway, so yesterday I took the weed whacker out and just took this stuff to the ground. And I couldn't even see where I put the concrete in that hole anymore because everything had just gotten so flattened out. And like I said, I planted some seeds, some lettuce seeds, moving forward, And like I say, I'm sure I'll go out there today and it'll be whack-a-mole type of situation. The rats will have found a new hole, and I'll have to I'm out of concrete and I'm broke, but I'll have to dig up some rocks. I have some river rock, that I've gotten that I use more as a landscaping feature. So I hate to have to take it, but, I'll have to shove some river rock into a hole and compact it, and then take my drill and nails, and if it's against the fence, shove in river rock, and then put, screw in boards to reinforce that. And then like I did yesterday, I got chicken wire, and chicken wire you could still get, even a chipmunk can get through, because chicken wire is a hole that big, which, no, I'm not making some kind of weird symbol, which, So what I did was I folded the chicken wire in half so that instead of a circle, or it's kind of like that octagonal type of shape, that the space was reduced in half so nothing could get through. It's an interesting little tidbit tip if you're interested in keeping critters out of your thing. Chicken wire won't do it because chipmunks and critters can squeeze through that octagonal thing. But what you do is you have to double your chicken wire and offset the holes so that it can't get through. Now a rat can eat through metal. So rats are a whole different thing. Rats, you got to use things like rocks, concrete. It has to be like three to four, things of a barrier. And like I say, or you got to put the fear of the Lord in them. Because eventually, because they've got brains, they're smart. And that's why they use them in unfortunately, in all kinds of tests. It's like crow season is coming up in a few weeks. Once the 20s, we don't get down into the 20s anymore. Then the crows start coming, and they hang out for about a month and really aggravate my bird feeder. Where my birds are that I feed, because I feed finches, the little birds, and cardinals, and occasionally blue jays come in. Blue jays are mean birds too. Blue jays are like crows. So I put out peanuts for them. They think they're, for the crows and I've done that for the chipmunks too. But I'm starting to get annoyed. I used to have chipmunks that were kind of like, they were friendly. They say, watch one of my videos. Look for the chipmunk video. It's from a while back. And like I said, I apologize if this annoys you doing this, but it's like, what can I say,
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
Right? I mean, that's it, and right?
Go ahead and shoot. You'll be doing me a favor.
I mean, if it bothers you.
Brilliant!
Anyway. So, yeah, I mean, that's my life, I'm just filing these a little bit. Just to make sure there's no edges off. Hey, I could talk. You got to multitask, man, in life. Most people wouldn't even dream of this or think, oh, that's ridiculous. It's whatever. I tell you my story. I tell you my health issues, my cancer operation, my gallbladder, my fight. I'm still fighting off this gallbladder thing. I think I'm kind of. Hey, by the way, I lost those extra 2 pounds, so now I'm back. Remember I said I gained 5 pounds if you're a regular viewer about, 5 days ago. Well, I managed to take the 5 back off. So I'm trying to, it's like, and that workout yesterday helped, plus being like totally a physical, mental wreck over my cat. You understand, you live with an animal for, over a decade or more, which in this case was more. I mean, he's got life left in him. I hope I can nurse him back. I don't know. It's touch and go. If this works, if this medicine, if he takes it, I can't believe they gave me chicken. He doesn't like chicken, a canned chicken food. I mean, he was always a crunchy type of guy anyway. He just liked crunchy food. But he drank his water and never had a problem like urinary tract problems. Like I said, this may be, people who know cats might understand this, but this is what they did. But yeah, there's no way we got a case of cans, 24 5x5 cans. There's 3 cans. That's all I got. Did get a 4-pound bag of that food. And I guess this prednisolone liquid, that's the thing I have to, like shoot into his mouth once a day for, I don't know, a week. I hope it's no longer than a week. I forget. I was so out of it yesterday that I've got to read the instructions again and see. I hope it's not more than a week. Man, it's probably 2 weeks with my luck. Sometimes they know you're helping them, but other times they just don't. They just think you're trying to, and then they pull away from you.
Hey, it's me. How you doing, man?
I don't know. I'm doing okay. It's like I probably could have slept another hour, but I think I got about 8 hours of sleep. Cat didn't bother me. I guess he was tired from his ordeal yesterday. But he came down the stairs by himself. He walked up one step at a time. I watched him after he used the litter box, and he's up there somewhere and hopefully just... Oh, and my tub is... Basically, I took a shower yesterday, and the water went down, but there was just right by the drain, just a little bit of water. And I thought, well, maybe, So I have one of these things you stick down the drain used to get with Drano or something. And I figured, well, maybe there's some, stuff in there, hair or something. And I did this, and indeed there was, and I just, disposed of that. And then I thought, okay. And I turned on the hot water, and suddenly the tub started filling up with water. Like it was like worse. Before if I wouldn't have done nothing, there would have been no problem. So I keep a plunger, a separate plunger. Like I have like 4 plungers in the house. I think I might have, let's see. I have one for the downstairs, the WC. I have one for the toilet upstairs. I have a plunger for the tub and a plunger for the sink. Because you don't want to mix plungers, from something like that. So I have a separate plunger I keep under my vanity in my bathroom that's strictly for the tub. And so I started plunging it. I'm figuring, okay, well, something must have got whacked out when I did this. And some junk came up, I don't know if it's the corrosion of inside the old pipes or something like that. And so a friend of mine who was coming down to help with the cat picked up some of this like commercial grade drain cleaner, and I poured that in yesterday afternoon. The water level didn't go down last night, and I even resorted to plunging on top of that this morning a tad. And so what the... Do you see what I mean? I'm like, like I said, I talked to my 88-and-a-half-year-old mother who's basically on her deathbed. Hanging in there, though. She's a miracle, Talk to her on the phone. She sounds the same as she sounded 40 years ago, youthful, and totally the same, It's interesting, She has a good mind, but her body's pretty much falling apart. But, I'd be lucky to make it to, I'd be happy to make it to 80, let alone, imagine that. She's 88 years old, and she's still basically living independent, more or less. She's in a place, but she has her own like apartment type of place. I mean, she has a cleaning, they come in and clean, and there's a group area where they cook meals and prepare meals. But she has her own refrigerator and sink and like some kind of little, whatever you call those little stoves, toaster oven type of thing. So sometimes she just makes her own stuff too. I think she only goes down to the cafeteria or whatever they have in this building she lives in like once a day. So yeah, we should all be that lucky. But I mean, she's got her physically, she's got a, bad heart, body, falling apart and stuff. I was talking to her. I said, what is, what is it? She's a religious person. I go, what did I do? I said, I'm being crucified. I mean, to count the things, if you looked at yesterday's title card, I didn't even list all of the things. And then yesterday, amidst all this madness, and now I've got to go up and deal with like trying to get my tub, like the water in my tub cleared out. Like I say, I've got the thing that's almost like a snake thing. I've got the commercial grade cleaner. I've got a plunger. I mean, when a plumber comes, it's pretty much what they do. And this thing didn't go down overnight. Now I have half the liquid left, but I don't know. So I'm going to have to be monkeying around with that. You see what I mean? It's crazy, and just makes you wonder. And, all these new age people, spiritual people, and religious people and stuff, it's like, I've meditated. I don't know. Like I say, in my youth, I was a self-centered person, like a lot of people. A lot of people on a mission, a guy who traveled as much as I did, you tend to be overt, you're not, I don't know. I always treated the small guy, the regular guy, gave them the time of day. All right. But I mean, I couldn't give them my entire day, and I guess some people might have taken offense to that. Because the problem was I always had a million people pulling at me, right? So it would be like, okay, it's like multitasking, like with people, with so-called friends. And so what happens is you can't, it's like, hey, I want to spend some time with my girlfriend or, whatever, my wife or something. So I'll spend some time with you and I'll spend some time with you. But, you got 50 people in your so-called, that have somehow become your entourage. And this has happened to me in multiple areas, because I've lived all over. And like I say, getting back to that, well, how did you do all these things? Because what I did was I would work on projects. I would work somewhere for a year or two, work somewhere else for a year or two, maybe work somewhere for 3 years on a project, right? Maybe do my own project for, for a couple of years here and there. But if you add those up, even if so if you just go, you could work on 5 2-year projects and that's only 10 years. You see what I mean? So it's not hard. So when I say I've done all these things and people are like skeptical, it's because most people, they're just out there to get their pension, right? It's like the teachers union and stuff like that. They just do their thing and they're there. It's like the bureaucrats in Washington, right? They're afraid they can't get another job or they can't do something on their own. Or they got this house and they got themselves into such a debt, a cost of a debt. Like I was showing my book and why you need to get the print version, and I don't care how many times I have to show this because it's important. And I think everyone should get this book for that reason alone. And you get the print version because I have things you can write, places where you can write things down. Where is this stupid thing? I can never find it. That everyone needs to make a monthly budget. And don't think you're going to make one better than mine. Get it, because I also talk about it in this book. But the point of the matter is, and I know it's not, you can't see things perfectly here. But the idea is, and then the lighting gets screwed up when you do that. Is that most people have got themselves into such a debt that they're afraid. It's like I was talking at the outset. It's like, learning skills when you're younger. I always had the ability. See, I was able to just get in my car and drive by myself to Los Angeles, having never been to L.A., right? Never been to the West Coast. Never been west of the west of the Mississippi, okay? Didn't know anything about it. This is pre any kind of smartphone, pre having like some kind of GPS thing or something like that. This is basically road map, highway, figuring it out, on a destination. A little bit of money in my pocket, not much. All my belongings stuffed in my car. The passenger seat had a TV on it. And old TVs were like, cathode ray tubes. Basically took up a lot. I had an Army duffel bag on the roof of my little Dodge Colt. Okay? And like I said, tools in my trunk, among other things, that basically could fix a radiator leak, a tire, emergency tire patch, extra belts, right? Just the right wrenches to fix certain things, all that kind of stuff. WD-40, everything, right? Just all the common things. Unless I dropped my transmission or my motor blew, which wasn't about to happen because that was a Mitsubishi engine. That was the same engine that the kamikazes used on Pearl Harbor, unfortunately. Dodge, made a deal with the devil. Those cars were invincible. That engine just like hummed. It just hummed. You could get your foot on the gas pedal at a certain level. You could find like what its engine, the ideal, like, and at that point, the engine was so efficient, you were burning a minimal amount of gas, right? And you were on the road in those days. I have 100-mile visibility, especially when you're down, going west, down on the southern route. Where you can every now and then glance to the right and you could see old Route 66, which I pulled over a couple of times when I had the opportunity and saw these abandoned places, that just like still had like the placemats and the salt and pepper shakers in the restaurants and stuff like that. Because once they built that 40 or whatever, Route 66 was just, it was over. But I had things to fall back on. So when I got out in LA, I was able to get work for a leading graphic design company. There goes the coal trucks. And so you should always, if you're young enough, you should always have a trade. You should always have skills that you can do, because that's what you do in between. And then I got in the film business, and I was managing talent, and I was doing all kinds of stuff. Got involved in entertainment and whatnot. But the point was, you had to start somewhere. So when I got out there, I picked up a newspaper, and there were about 6 jobs that I knew I could do in graphics, right? I was completely capable of. I called all 6, and I think 5 out of the 6 said, yeah, come on in, And so I had my pick of the litter, and there was a place on Wilshire Boulevard, which is like the Wall Street, it's like the main, that's like the financial, put it this way, above. In the building, we were on the ground floor. In the building above us were some of the leading plastic surgeons of LA and stuff like that. And that was fairly close to where I had parked my car. I'd never been in LA before. Didn't know the lay of the land. I thought Hollywood was Hollywood. I didn't know Hollywood was a dump. right? The only people who've been to LA know that, that, Hollywood moved over the valley, into the valley years ago, the studios. Hollywood was just like a low rent place with, weird place. I mean, it's, yeah, the Walk of Fame's there and there's some tourist spots and stuff, but I mean, it's not what people think. West Hollywood, Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, North Hollywood, and of course I ended up living in Malibu eventually, but I lived in Beverly Hills when I first got there. I found a place. I was living in it was kind of a place, because almost like a flop house, but not really. It was a place run by a former ingenue actress from days gone by. She had a driver. She had a Rolls Royce, and she, I guess, maybe one of her ex-husbands gave her this place, and it was just all a bunch of actors, like type of people you'd see in soap operas and different stuff like that. Anyway, I got a room in there, and and I got a job working on this Wilshire Boulevard at this graphics firm. And I just saved up. I mean, I made good money, so I saved up some good money. And then eventually I left that place. That's a long story. I'm not going to get into that. But the point is, what I'm trying to say is that over time, if you spend 2 or 3 years doing different jobs, right, over the course of, 20, 25 years, you really, and you traveled, you have a lot of experience. And so no, I'm not going to bring up a Twitter thing or a clip from a cable channel or a network channel or show you, a meme, except in very rare instances. But these people on a daily basis, that's what they do. And so that's why I'm trying to say everything you know is wrong. You don't know what you don't know. These people have no idea. And that includes these little generals that they march out on the cable channels and these other pundits that they bring out. They don't know what they're talking about. Like I say, the generals don't know what the DIA and DARPA's up to. They believe it or not, it's above their pay grade. It's above their security clearance. You see, and they just haven't been around. They're not aware of it. When I tell you the technology that you think is advanced today, and you think you know stuff, I've even talked to some people, like, friends of mine, and they'll swear by stuff, and they'll talk about all this, that, the other, and they think they know this, that, the other. Because I'm fed up with all kinds of stuff. And then I'll say something and they'll argue with me like they know better, and they'll say, well, I know, and such, and yeah. It's like, yeah, whatever. And then I just let them say, and I start agreeing with them. Just, you know what I mean? When you get to a point where you can't argue, it's like, I know stuff. All right? The technology that most people think is like state of the art, and that they think they're privy to through some ways or means. The real technology's 10 years beyond that right now. 10 years beyond that. In some cases, 50 years. And in other cases, it's only 5 years. All right? The smartphone, it's totally outdated. Every year I'm just keep being surprised that Apple just keeps putting out like a new phone. I'm like, why aren't you putting out the technology that is there, that exists? See, they have these chips and stuff. The MX Ultra chip that Apple has is incredible. I mean, it really is. It's an outrageous breakthrough chip, as far as processing power. And the they're even rumored that they're going to double that up, like kind of make a sandwich out of it this fall. Now they've linked the two their best chip, where they've connected them directly. Now that's what the latest that's the Ultra. Well, what they're going to do is they're going to take the Ultra and then they're going to put another Ultra, sandwich it on top. See, because the key is that you don't want to have, you want to have basically low power consumption and the fastest processing speed. All right. And the only way you can have fastest processing speed is how things are connected to each other. So the best way of doing that is either direct connection, like the current Ultra, which connects like this right to each other. You put two chips connected directly, and then the next best thing is the sandwich. Now there's another company that does have a sandwich chip. I forget who that is. You know, like I say, I'm not a name dropper. I'm not a jargon guy. I'm not any of that stuff. I keep abreast of so many things, but I know what's going on. I've seen things, all right? If you could see the things I've seen with these eyes, all right? But there's no need to have a smartphone anymore. We're way past that technology. And these conventional wars they're having, you know, that's just, like I say, you know, I mean, that's the corporatocracy just playing games, you know, pulling the strings of people. And that's like all this other stuff. That's just hypocrisy for profit and stuff. They're just like making money and using troops as, like I say, I call it cannon fodder. That's just something that, I don't know, came when I was coming up through the school system, I guess, left over from World War I or something like that. Right. Cannon fodder. Soldiers are just cannon fodder. It's like, pieces on a chessboard, but it's not really a chessboard. It's a checkerboard. You know, it's a checkerboard. You know, they used to say Donald Trump was playing 3D or 4D chess. And he wasn't. He wasn't. I'm sorry, guys. He wasn't. He was totally overwhelmed, completely surprised. He just couldn't believe it. He thought he was going to go in there. He had this beautiful wife, and he thought it was going to be Camelot 2. He was one of the most popular guys on TV with his Apprentice show and stuff like that. You know, he had this Trump brand. His daughter had like this popular line of stuff, right? They didn't think that, you know, they thought they were popular and they were going to come in there and it was going to be Camelot 2. You know? And then for some reason, out of like, you know, jealousy, and then, you know, this whole idea of the corporatocracy trying to do things, it was like, no, man, you're an outsider. We're going to destroy you. And they literally laid him to waste. Impeached a guy twice. Everything he did, and everyone went around it. And I see now that, you know, his former head of the DOJ's got a new book out, and he's like trying to cover himself like, oh yeah, well, I knew the laptop was there, but nobody listened to me, and you know, this, that, the other. And it's like, hey man, what do you think we are? We don't remember history? I was around. You didn't do anything. You could have, you know, you were the head of the DOJ. It's just like the FBI. They still have the same clown in there right now. The same head of the FBI. And all these like people who just, you know, they're just. So you have to understand that how these bureaucracies work, how government works. It isn't really it isn't government in the sense of what you think it is. I mean, you know, sometimes I like say, oh, it's not government. But it is government, but it's a corporatocracy. Big tech, right? Big ag, you know, military contractors. That's what's going on over in Europe right now. That's military contractors trying to make hundreds of billions of dollars. In the past 2.5 years, Big Pharma was trying to make hundreds of billions of dollars. They still are. They're like resurrecting that thing again. You know, like I talked about a meme. There was a meme where they were showing that being swept under the rug, and on top of the rug was war. But suddenly, like, they're like trying to resurrect that again. So that you got to watch out for that stuff. You know, and then it's big ag. Like I say, I lost 5 pounds in the past, so many days because I stopped eating like these cereals that had all these high carbs and sugars in them, hidden stuff. Healthy on the box, vitality, whole grain, right? High fiber, heart healthy, right? Well, FDA stands for Food and Drug Administration. And if you turn on the television, you'll see a lawsuit against all these pharmaceutical companies every day. That's just the drug part. The food part, nobody seems to care about. Processed foods are killing us. It took 2 years off our life expectancy. And it's given us all these diseases. Like I'm telling you, 40,000 people. Yes, it sounds like a broken record. 40,000 people a week die in the U.S. From treatable, preventable, and in many cases curable ailments. I won't even call them diseases because they're not. Because it's like heart-related issues, 650,000 people a year. Cancers that people had never had before. 600,000 people a year die of cancer. Kidney-related problems. Well, what are you putting in your body that's causing these kidney problems? And all these kidney stones, gallstones, fatty livers. You see what I'm saying? Right? Diabetes, type 2 diabetes. And then the pathetic, sad cases of people who are committing suicide, and tens of thousands of people, because they just can't even deal. Like I was saying before, if most people saw, how to deal with 5 of the things out of the 5 of the 12 things I'm going through right now, would probably have just off themselves on the air. A lot of people couldn't deal with one of them. And that's the truth. That's what I was talking when I started talking about, I was talking to my mother. That's what I was telling her. And, she, like I said, she got it. She understood. She goes, yeah. I said, you have to imagine yourself when my dad's no longer with us. I said, when you and dad, were living in your house, if you saw rats in your yard, you'd be like, hey, we're moving. Right? If you saw like a roach in your kitchen, you'd be like, hey, we're moving. If your roof leaked in 3 areas and your entire upstairs in 3 different rooms got wet, and the attic, was like wet, you wouldn't be like, we need to get a new roof, put in an insurance claim. You'd be like, we're moving. We're selling this house, and getting out of here. Oh, and to top it off, so 2 things happened yesterday that were added to the list. 1, my tub right now is filled with water and is so-called gel stuff. It never went down overnight, right? These commercial products they sell. What the? Right? What kind of lie is that? It's like that. It's liquid rubber in a can. Didn't stop any leaks. Right? Screw that guy. All right? Well, when I went downstairs, because I had to turn on the hose, because in the wintertime I turn off the hose from inside so the pipes don't freeze, okay? Because the pipe goes like kind of under my back porch to lead to the nozzle that's out in the backyard that you hook the hose up to. But I have the, inside my basement is like the turn thing that I turn the water off. And there's a little thing on the pipe that you unscrew to drain out the water from the pipe. Plus, I have those pipe cover insulation things on my pipe so that I don't have frozen pipes, because that's a plumber, it's not a major thing, but a plumber's going to come and charge me like $80, if one of the pipes or the seals break or something like that. And fortunately enough, so I had to get down there. And while I was there, and I keep a thing of bug spray down there. And so while I was down, I sprayed around the area just below my kitchen, and where maybe potentially these bugs could be coming from. But I'm pretty convinced that they're coming from the sewer pipes. Because up in my kitchen, I literally I caulked every crack and crevice. I was telling my mother, this is the thing, she doesn't watch this show. She doesn't even have the internet anymore. Feel sorry for her too. Cause she liked it. She liked the computer, but some relative totally screwed up her, said it was going to fix her computer and didn't fix it. And then took it away. And people are weird, even in your own family. But I was telling her, and I'm telling you, I said, I've got the kitchen almost to a point. I said, this is a process. It's going to take me months. I'm playing whack-a-mole with rats out in the backyard. It's whack-a-mole. I'll go out there today and there'll be 2 more holes. Right? Where something dug under a fence from the witch's yard or something, right? Somebody maybe somebody who tuned in, the witch, she's the one who brought the rats and the roaches because she's a hoarder on top of everything else. And anyway, I said, my kitchen's getting to the point that in another month, as I continue with this caulking and sealing, I said, if for some reason my kitchen flooded, like the sink flooded or a pipe broke, I said my kitchen would fill up like a swimming pool because it would basically be that sealed up. There'd be no way for the water to escape. And that's my goal. And it's going to take time. Right? And I know. And getting down on your hands and knees or your belly, basically, to get under radiators and weird places to try to find any possible crack where any kind of bug, insect could get through, right? Meanwhile, while you're scrubbing on your hands and knees, it's not a one-day job, right? Unless you had a crew. And I don't have a crew. And then, like I say, I've got 12 things to deal with, right? So I've tried every day. I'm trying to just whittle away, at all of the things, right? Trying to make forward progress, but it's incremental, right? Which is another bit of advice to someone. Today's takeaways. Get a skill that you could fall back on when you're young. When you're older, it doesn't matter because once you make, I got a house. You can't imagine that. That's a good feeling, when you get a house, right? Because it's your own place and it's yours. This thing's half paid off, despite my problems, it's it's an inexpensive house. And unfortunately I've got this witch next door and, things happen and they're trying to fix like I said, firsthand experience with the infrastructure failure in this country. 3 times they've been digging up the streets to try to fix the sewer pipes, water lines. These are all 100-year-old things all over this entire country. So that's why they got rid of the Build Back Better slogan and changed it. Because they know they can't build back better. And when I tell you about this, get one of these jackeries from my great solar stuff thing up there. So you got power backup. Forget the solar. I mean, solar. You can get a small solar panel. You don't need to go solar. All right? But you need power backup because the grid is falling apart. They can't fix it. People say, oh, we can do this. We can do this. We could be like France. We can go nuclear. Yeah, you could do a lot of things in the year 1982, but not in the year 2022, 40 years later. You know, you've got to get that power from, point A to B to C to Z. You see? And you also have to have the ability. You can't have a corporatocracy that has control of the media and politicians or marionettes, and that the bureaucrats and the traditional corporatocracy doesn't want decentralized power. It's just like they're destroying Bitcoin. I hate to say this, but people don't understand that. The Fed is coming out with its own version. Look at my Christmas lights on the porch. You see how they're flashing now? That's right at sunrise they do that. See that? Isn't that neat? It's like that's just that's saying, okay, we're just about, we're done now. Yeah, the light's coming on camera too up there. Isn't that cool? And you can see that's a hardware store across the street. So the neighborhood's not as bad as you think. Next to me is like I said, the doctor's office. Across the street's that. And there's a nice apartment building directly across, a brick apartment building. It's completely empty right now. I bet you get an apartment in there for like under $500 a month. A nice apartment, nice 1-bedroom or something like that. They probably have 2 bedrooms in there too. But the woman is the same one who owns the hardware store. They check references. So, they can't find people right now. But the architecture along this drag, so to speak, is really nice. Nice homes. They've wrecked about 12 houses down, which is good. There's still about 3 or 4 more that need to be, demolished. But that's the problem. There has been a lot of demolishing. They've been digging up the street multiple times, and that's forced rats and bugs into places, and particularly like these people who have hoarding houses and stuff and aren't sealed up. Anyway. That's like,
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
The only station that matters.
That's my story. Crazy story, right?
Brilliant!
But I don't know. I'm trying to get by. I had a Granny Smith apple for breakfast today and coffee. My stomach feels a little bit kind of weird. It's not exactly the ideal thing. But yeah, it's whack-a-mole out there. It's whack-a-mole in here. And we're heading into the rainy season, the mid-Atlantic monsoon season. And so it's like I patch a hole up in the attic and I use 100% silicone. I'm done with that liquid rubber in a can, like I say. That guy's full of crap. Either that or the stores around here have stuff that's so old that, it's become inert. But, in one area, I had 4 areas that were bad. And in one area, I managed to basically completely seal it, despite the fact that there are shingles missing from the roof in that area. But I coated the inside with a roof sealant. And every hole that or where the nails still remain from the old things, I put 100% silicone on them, and did all this put patching. You know what I did? Here's a weird thing. Before it was a 4-step process, and I think I went through this in a show one time, and I guess it's no longer necessary to put this here. But I will show you something that, if I could find it, that is an interesting thing if you have a problem. Yeah. I'll show you this. Let me put this up for you. this was the area where I actually had success. And so what I did was I caulked the hole, because this is a slatted roof. This is before the zip system, before people put, particle board or plywood, on a roof and then covered it with tar paper or some kind of zip tape. There's all kinds of stuff. I'm very familiar with I've watched enough, of these videos, to see what's available, the current technology of building a good roof from scratch. But this is 100-plus-year-old house, so the roof was basically just planks. And over the years, as wood dries, right, you get gaps between those planks. So what I did was, and then the shingles cover the whole thing. Then they used to tar down and then shingle it or whatever. Well, anyway, all that stuff's blown off. It's gone. And so my first stage here, this is the area that I was successful with. In between those slats, I put caulking, waterproof caulking, like the type of stuff, that you would use in a tub, tub tile, sink, real waterproof stuff. High silicone content, but I mean, it's waterproof. And once it cures, it takes about 72 hours too, by the way, before you want to have that water get there. And then I just took that drywall mesh and I put that over top of it, okay? To just seal it in and let it attach to that. And then I so 72 hours passed by. I did this towards the end of last summer in this one spot towards the front. It was a bad leak. It was leaking right into the front room. In fact, it was the first big leak. And once that was in that condition, then I got this can of what most people would put on top of their roof. It was a very thick, and I painted it on, a thick roof sealant. It was like this white sealant. And I painted over those boards and over that mesh to where the entire wall became white. And this stuff actually has some kind of thing in it that it expands just a little bit, So it almost forms like a just grows a little. So it's a real, it's a coating sealant. But underneath it in all those cracks, I had that extra caulk and that mesh so that this stuff was even sticking to that and covering the caulk, covering the wood. Right? And this is old wood, but you can see that wood there's something about the wood. They use good wood in these old buildings, right? Stuff isn't rotted. Now, eventually something's going to have to be done on the outside. This isn't a forever fix. All right. And then there were still areas where these nails, lots of nails, some of these guys went crazy putting in nails, nailing down the shingles. And that's where I took 100% silicone after I had all this white, while it looked the whole area looked white. And this is floor to ceiling. This was, and actually within two different rafter type areas that are 2 feet wide. It's a big area, 4 foot wide area, 4 foot by maybe 6 or 8. It's a big job. Fortunately, it's in this attic was once a room, and I've got cross circulation, window in the front, window in the back. So I was able to have an exhaust fan in the back while I'm using these volatile type of things. And so it's drawing air through and the chemicals out, and I'm not getting overwhelmed with anything. In fact, quite frankly, I couldn't even smell it. I was smelling more fresh air coming in because I was closer to the front of the place. And so the fan was drawing in fresh air, and it was a hot day and whatnot. And so after the sealant dried, which took about 24 to 48 hours, I was lucky we had like a week of like warm, hot, weather. It's the end of the summer, it's dry. And then I took the 100% silicone in every nail hole. Like, they weren't nail holes. The nails were still there, even though some of the shingles had gone. There's nothing I could do about that. And so I got and I just basically coated the nails with 100% waterproof silicone. That was a tedious job. So I think I might have had it done like 50, 60, I don't know. And I had trays and stuff down below to capture any leaks and stuff. I was figuring, well, I'll still get a few leaks, but no big deal. Rains hard, so leak comes in a couple spots. I'll just dump it out the window. I haven't had a leak, knock on wood. I mean, who knows? Every time I talk about a thing like this, I'll develop a leak there. But I have some, just in case there's some things under there to capture it. But unfortunately, in the other areas, I didn't have that opportunity to do that sort of thing. And I resorted to using things like some of these over-the products like liquid rubber in a can and some of this other stuff. And I ran into some real problems. So, and by the way, this is the title card of the show, which I kind of think is cool considering I just snapped that this morning, like without even thinking. It was like, I thought, yeah, that's wild. That's what it looks like behind you. Or me. Yeah, behind you, not me. But anyway, you learn these things, you do these things, and you're forced to do it. So I'm constantly playing whack-a-mole. So I have 2 other bad areas of leaks in my attic, and we're hitting the rainy season. So I'm going up there, and I've used 100% silicone on these things. I've put all kinds of stuff, but it's like it wasn't as thorough as that job where I started from scratch. It's like because these areas weren't bad. It was like, it was like the dike's leaking and you're trying to fix it during the storm, And so it's layer over layer, repair over repair, emergency repair while something's happening. Hoping there's a break in the action, and sometimes you get 2 days or a day and a half without rain. But that's not long enough because you really need 72 hours for a lot of these caulks and a lot of these sealants to really get waterproofed, to cure properly. I even resorted to using concrete patching in one spot that was particularly bad. And I found another thing that can be used in wet conditions. And it helped tremendously to reduce the amount of water that was coming through. I had to get an electric pump, the type of pump you siphon gas, out of a gas can into like a heavy equipment or your own car type of thing to drain the water from these collection bins I had underneath these areas of the roof that were leaking, and then put that into a bucket and dump it out the window. And inevitably it would rain at 1 or 2 a.m. or midnight or 11. And so I wasn't getting any decent night's sleep because I'd be up there every hour. That's how much water was coming in 2 or 3 different spots. But that 4th spot, the one I showed you, that one worked because I was able to attack that from scratch and build it. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm just going to have to play whack-a-mole until May. And it's, end of March. I've got all April. April showers bring May flowers, The rain forecast for the next month or so is just like rain every other day. So I'll be up there draining, pumping water, trying to patch something that might be bad, this, that, the other. But once we hit, May and we get like a dry week, or 5 days, 4 days where it's not going to rain and it's going to be sunny and hot. There's a freaking gnat in here. Where'd that come from? I don't even want to drink my coffee. Maybe it was in that. So I'm going to have to rip apart all that stuff I did, all those emergency patchings in those 3 areas, which just dismantling it alone will be day one. Filling about 4 trash bags worth of stuff, hauling that down from a 3rd floor attic, right, out to the curb the day before a garbage pickup, hopefully. And then attacking the next day, going and doing what I showed you here is step by step filling the crack with a tub, shower type of caulk, putting on a layer over top of that and then coating that with some kind of sealant, roof sealant that has like a thickening that will actually raise itself up. And then after all that's dry, finding every nail and doing the exact same thing, because that's what I have found is the only way you can patch your roof and dry it out from the inside. And chances are that will get me through the summer and probably next winter if I do that. But another year or 2 down the road, I'm going to have an intervention of finding a way to get on the roof and fix it. But roofers and roofing contractors, when you call them, they say, we don't repair roofs anymore. We'll give you a new roof for $20,000. Some places might be as low as $15,000. I only paid $15,000 for this house. I don't even have enough equity in this house to second mortgage it to put a new roof on. And why would I? Why would I want to double my mortgage, more or less? You see, you put in an insurance claim, and you know how insurance works these days. They do 2 things. They either drop you if it costs too much, or they want their money back. So it's not really insurance. It's basically a loan. Kind of. Right? People who have small car wrecks, right? They raise their insurance rate. If you have a big car wreck, I was in a car wreck that was totaled one time. They considered the car totaled. I was fine. It was a fluke accident in hydroplaning in a fluke snowstorm. Me and another car. Both of us survived, blah, blah, blah. But the insurance company paid the claim, but they dropped me because it was totaled. That's what they do. They don't want, that's all probability statistics. They have these tables. They've got it all figured out. But they're like, yeah, even if I don't even know if I could put in a claim. I would have to wait till the next big bad storm and then claim that the storm did it, storm damage, and then see. And then they would it's going to cost $15,000. And my insurance rate will double or something like that. Because they want their money back. That's how they are. It's crazy. But that's the corporatocracy. That's what we have. That's how it works. And like I say, beware of the Federal Reserve. What they're going to do, this is an election year. After the election in first quarter next year, they're implementing, it's already been in the minutes of the Federal Reserve meetings. They're putting in a cryptocurrency. They're going crypto. But their crypto is going to be based on the serial numbers you see on a dollar bill or a $100 bill, whatever. Every transaction is going to be basically recorded so that they could be taxed and tracked. And that's this whole idea, this social credit score like they've implemented in China. And then, this other thing, wherever this is, if I still have it here because I.
Your papers, please.
So if you want to travel, you have to be a good, citizen, productive citizen, and have purchased the right things, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's crazy, man. But, these are wild times. Runaway inflation, the credit cards next month, people aren't aware of this. If you have a small business, the credit companies have already announced that because of the plague over the past 2 years, they were originally intending to raise the rate that they charge businesses per transaction to use a MasterCard, Visa, American Express, those type of things. You pay like 2 or 3%. There's a percentage charge for in order for the business to when you go in and you buy something using a credit card, all right, or even your ATM card, because you can use it as a credit card. And so that fee is going to go up next month. That's been announced, but it's really under the radar. Well, anyway, that means that's just going to add further to inflation, because if you're a business and you've got an extra point, or 2 or whatever it is, 1.5 on every transaction, well, you're going to have to recoup that point and a half or whatever it is on your menu if you're a food place, or on your retail. It's probably another reason why like places like the Dollar Tree is now everything's $1. Used to be $1, now everything's $1.25. Do you understand? Because they accept credit cards, they accept ATM cards. So think about that. And that's just another thing even at the gas pump, right? So forget about the price of oil going up. Most people just charge their stuff. Yeah. So you've got runaway inflation, crypto through the Fed. You've got war-profiteers, basically the people who are creating this European war, basically for the sake of making money. Right? They don't care about Ukraine, right? And what are those biolabs? I'm not going to get on that rant on that. Like, nobody knows the real story over there. You don't know. You don't know what you don't know. Don't think you know. You see tragedy, you see war, you see, death and that kind of thing. And nobody's saying that stuff's not happening. But you don't know the story, the socioeconomic geopolitics. And I'm tired of hearing these people coming out and thinking they're smart and cute by saying it's geopolitics. No, it's not geopolitics. It's socioeconomic geopolitics, okay? It's media and politicians being controlled by the corporatocracy, by big tech, by the weapons industry, the war-profiteers, big ag, big pharma, okay? The Fed, the Wall Street, all right? And everything that comes under that, big real estate, financial investments, insurance companies, etc. It's all basically hypocrisy for profit. And I've been trying to tell you this every day. That's what's going on. The media tells you these stories and presents these images for one reason and one reason only: for profit. It's hypocrisy for profit. They want you to stay tuned during the commercial breaks so those announcers could keep their multi-million-dollar salaries. They are not like you. They don't live in your world. Do you understand? See those coal trucks going up? Your electric car runs on coal if you live in this area. Or West Virginia, Kentucky, certain Midwestern plain states, Pennsylvania. Do you understand? And people go, oh, I'm running on electric. I have an electric car. No, you have a coal-run car. And if you don't live in these areas, mid-Atlantic areas, your car's running on natural gas. And that natural gas was probably fracked. And you think you're green. Well, anyway, it's getting late, but I just like to throw in every day. Remember, there's 1 million windmills that are now out of commission. All right? They're unfixable and not being used. Every day another one burns up or a propeller falls off. It was the biggest T-bone picking scam done on America. The windmills are not, so we don't have wind energy. And we've destroyed all those landscapes. And the only way to put new generators and fix and repair even the existing ones that have destroyed the landscape and killed millions of birds would be to use heavy equipment that required diesel, fossil fuels, as you call them, to hoist up these incredibly heavy items and to transport them across the country. So windmills are not renewable, are not green energy. Solar panels, we don't have the space for solar panels. Do you ever see these people in these homesteads? They keep adding more and more solar panels because if you want to run a refrigerator, a dryer, an electric appliance, a stove, okay, you need big spaces and a lot of panels. And if you're in the north, they get covered with snow. We don't have as much sunlight. They're lying to you. Everything you know is wrong. You don't know what you don't know. It's game over. The grid is falling apart anyway. All right? We're going to see more power outages, and we have things happening with the sun, our star, which is the main reason. There's no such thing as climate change, not from global warming. The planet's cooling. Our magnetic field is weakening. All right? That's why we have more storms. And the jet patterns are out of whack. But the other reason that people die from storms and there are people die in forest fires is because people never lived there before. And those areas have become overpopulated. And we don't have forest management. We shore up the levees, but we don't build them higher. When the Mississippi floods, people just put in an insurance claim. They don't put up retainer walls. When there's hurricanes, they just rebuild new houses out of sticks, 2x4s. They don't build rounded homes. Things that architecturally could withstand 400-mile-an-hour winds. People don't use storm shutters anymore. Instead, they put on shutters that are just nailed as an architectural feature, not an architectural functional storm, prevention of windows from shattering and whatnot. So it's all out of whack. Everything's crazy, and I'm going through hell. So, go to my site, ROCKFLUX.com. This is the last day of free shipping for all my clothing and stuff. Check that stuff out. Support the channel. Buy my book. Buy them in print. I got 10 books. I got 50 songs. Listen to them on Spotify or someplace. The song you don't like, click, listen to the next one. You're going to find about half of those songs are pretty good tunes, man. And go to Great Solar Stuff. You think I'm criticizing solar? I'm not criticizing solar. I'm talking about you need to take care of as the grid goes down because of storms and grid failures and problems, somebody texting and driving, you want to have power in your house. So get a battery backup, one of those power packs. You get a solar panel with it so you could charge it, but you could keep it charged from your house or charge it from your car. And there's other items I have there. Anyway, rockflux.com. Support this channel, and I'll keep doing these things. Don't support the channel? Well, thanks a lot, Help a guy out.